Okay, we're gonna get started. Happy January, finally. So we're really, I mean, this is pretty nice surprise for Cim Carver to be joining us the very beginning of the new year. Cim, as you guys may know, was one of my corporate mentors for a really long time. He's now the field development and does Hispanic sales for Beachbody. He's probably been, what, Cim, has it been 5 years? I know you guys.
What's that? How long it's been? What was that? 6 years.
6 years. I know you guys see him in so many of the videos. If you are new to the team, if you've been around like me, then there's no real introduction that's necessary. And, you know, when you start a new year, there's a lot of emotion and feeling that goes with that. And I think especially after last year, we all have had our own individual struggles, but at the same time, as much as they were individual, I think we all suffered a lot of the same situations. And here we are, right? No matter what. And so it's really important that we start the year strong and we kind of cast our vision a little bit. And just before we start, I just grabbed a couple numbers, and just as people still climb on, because I'm just still approving people, whatever this means for you, you know, I don't want you to sit here and hear these numbers and be like, okay, well, that wasn't me. What I want you to take from these numbers is that this is proof that there is incredible growth and potential in this network and in this team, and it's happening. Whether you're taking advantage or you're diving in or leaning in or didn't or were, it's happening. But the point is, you know, the 20 whatever coaches that are on, you're obviously here saying whatever happened last year happened. And, you know, we really need to ride this momentum. So guys, one of the hardest years in our lives, right? I think you can all agree was 2020. But I just want to read you a couple numbers and then we'll cast it off to Cim. But, you know, a year ago, you know, we probably had a lot of things we could complain about, right? We had no idea what was to come a year from today. Like a year ago, we were probably like, the weather, this, and we had no idea what was on the horizon, right? And in 2019, okay, in October of 2019, our team signed 21 coaches in October of 2019. In December of 2019, our entire team signed 14 coaches. And I'll just leave it at that for right now. Okay, that was 2019. And we thought life was hard, whatever. Well, then life really got hard, right? We got shaken up a little bit with a pandemic and everything that brought, you know. So ready for this? So how is this possible? In October of 2020, we signed 69 coaches. So it went from 21 to 69. And then in December, 73. So from 14 in 2019 to 73 in 2020. Now here's the kicker, guys. In a year when we thought, you know, things were, well, I mean, life's always hard, right? There's always ups and downs in life. 2019, Wild Impact signed 197 coaches. For 12 months, that's what we produced. We added 197 people to our tribe. One of the hardest years of our lives, 2020, you added 729 coaches. Wow. 197 to 729 in one of the hardest years of your life. And let that just sit with you, because that's significant and that matters. And it just proves that we really have a solution, and that you guys took a situation and you could have just completely retreated and you didn't. And even if it wasn't the year you wanted, know that that growth is possible, and it's what's to come if you lean in. And so I'm so happy that you guys are here, and what better way to kick off the year than with Cim Carver. So Cim, thank you so much for spending a little time with us tonight. We appreciate you so much, and we're so excited to kind of hear from you as we
Well,
start this
let's
journey.
temper the excitement till after the call. Let's see if I do anything worth being excited about first, Shane. Let's get
Okay. All right.
No, I was thinking actually on my drive. So I actually went into the office today. We're technically, our offices are closed, but we can go in every once in a while if we need something. And I just needed to have a little bit of a change of scenery today. No one was there, so I was there by myself the whole day. But I was driving home, and I was thinking about this call, and I was like, I think I've been doing team calls for Shane for almost 7 years now. Like, some of you have been listening to me flap my gums for a long time, and yet you're still here. So I guess that's a good sign. I'll try to live up to it. And those of you that haven't, well, I hope not to turn you off tonight a little bit. But I am really, really grateful to be here. There was a time when I first started with Beachbody when I had the opportunity to work with coaches more directly than I do now, and I miss that. I miss being able to work directly with coaches. So when I have the opportunity to jump on team calls, I'm always really grateful for the chance to get back to doing this because it does fill me, and it does really. I guess it's fun for me to be able to do that, because what I hope to be able to do with this is what my goal would be, I guess, from this, if I'm just being direct with you, is to help you guys move forward, right? And this has been something that I've had a conversation with myself about a lot, some things that I want to share tonight. And honestly, I'm going to come a lot off the cuff. I didn't feel like tonight would be a good idea to be overly scripted or become overly, I guess, trapped by what I think I should say. And I wanted to just share some things from my heart, things that have been on my mind that I'm guessing have probably been on yours. And then even at the end, maybe having a conversation with you guys to be able to just talk to you about what's going on and what we need to do for this year. But I'll start by sharing something that happened last night. So my daughter plays volleyball, competitive volleyball, and she's 13 years old. She'll turn 14 on Saturday, and she's my baby. And one of the things that I love to do is watch my daughter play volleyball. It amazes me, again, those of you that are at this stage of life like I am, where you're getting a little gray on the side here. And when your kids start to do things significantly better than you could ever possibly hope to do them, it's a really cool thing. At least for me, it is. And my daughter is really good at volleyball, and she works really hard at it. And it's something that's very, very important to her. And so when I get a chance, to go pick her up, I'll go a little bit early. We're not supposed to have spectators in the practices, but I'll sneak in a little bit early to pick her up so I can catch the last 10 minutes of her practice. And last night I went and picked her up, and as I was watching her, it took about 10 seconds for me to realize something wasn't right. I could just tell by her demeanor, by how she was carrying herself, that she was not in a good place. And, I didn't know why. I wasn't sure what was going on, but practice was almost over and I wasn't going to get involved with that. But after practice ended, usually she's the one that kind of sits around and will chat with the other girls, the teammates. And I just wait over by the door, and then she comes and we leave. And this time practice ended, and she just grabbed her bag, listened to the coach talk, and then walked right out. And I said, "Hey, are you okay?" And she just walked right outside, walked right past me, like she couldn't wait to just get outside. And I was like, "What's going on?" And 2 steps outside the door, she was crying. And I was like, "Sweetie, what's wrong?" And she said, "Nothing." She didn't want to talk about it, nothing. And we get in my car to drive home, and I said, "Did something happen in practice?" And she started to talk to me about how the coach had put her in this position that she wasn't used to, and she wasn't passing the ball well, and she wasn't doing all these things. And she can be very hard on herself, and very critical, and was saying things like, if I can't pass right, if I can't get my passes right, I'm no use to the team. They're worse off. I shouldn't even be on the team. Other people can pass better than me. I don't deserve to be on. I mean, she was just going. And, as a parent, and we all have those moments when you just need to get the poison out. You just need to just get it out of you. And so I'm sitting there and just letting her kind of just get it out. And once I feel like she's purged the demons as much as she can, I kind of look at her and I said, "Okay, sweetie." I said, "Knowing you, I bet it really wasn't that bad, right?" And knowing how the standards you hold yourself to, I bet it wasn't that difficult. And maybe your coach was putting you in that position for a reason. And she was just insistent, no, it was this, and I just have been playing so bad lately, and I can't, we've got tournaments coming up and all this stuff. And when I could see that I wasn't going to be able to talk her out of this, and she was just going to indulge in this misery for a minute, which we all do from time to time. I don't know why we like to do that to ourselves, but sometimes you just want to indulge in your misery. And so she was indulging in her misery. And me being who I am, thought, okay, well, we've had enough of doing that now. And now we need to start having a little daddy lesson here, which of course my daughter really appreciates. And I said, well, let me give you another perspective. I said, when I walked into that room, into that court, and I saw you, I knew something was wrong. Your attitude read very clearly on your face that you were frustrated, and that, quite honestly, your attitude sucked. And I could tell it. And if I could tell it, everyone else around me could tell it, because you're not very good at hiding your attitude, Ellie. That's my daughter's name, is Ellie. And I said, let me tell you a lesson that your old man dad has learned over the years. These moments right here that you're sitting in right now, these things are the most important moments for you to get used to owning your life. You get to choose right now. And the growth that you want, that we all say we want, that's easy to say, I want these things. The growth happens in the choices you make in this moment right here. So you can keep telling yourself over and over and over again that you're horrible, that you suck, that you shouldn't do this, that this is never going to work. And you can keep telling yourself over and over and over again. And you know what? It will become true. Or you can look at it a different way. And you can say, well, what did I learn? How could I get better? How is this going to help me improve? What could be some of the reasons why the coach would put you in that spot or have this experience? I said, but Ellie, the habits that you build in facing these difficult moments, how you react to them will have impacts well beyond volleyball. And so I'm just going to tell you right now, because I'm your dad and I love you, your attitude sucks. If you want to grow and you want to get better, you need to change how you're looking at this. And you need to live up to owning your life. Now, as you can probably imagine, that did not exactly make her feel very good. And I knew it wouldn't. And so I tried to soften it just a little bit. And I said, I know it's been a crazy year. 2020, I know there's lots of things. And I said, Ellie, but through all of this, these are the types of lessons that you can learn. These are the types of things that are going to happen, the things that are, how are you going to respond? When you feel like your headwinds are blowing against you, how are you going to respond? And I know you're up for it. And she came in the house, she was crying. My wife came out, asked me what happened. I said, kind of explained to her what, and thankfully she has a really good coach, because her coach kind of seen what was happening with her. And she ended up calling my daughter, like while my daughter was up in her room crying. And the coach told her, and I found this out later from the coach because my daughter wouldn't tell me what she said to her. But she said that the reason why she put my daughter in that position was because the teams that they'll be playing in these national tournaments and such, that they're going to be hitting in certain areas and doing certain things. And that my daughter, being the best defensive player on the team, she needed her to make sure that she was ready for those things. And she knew that she hadn't had a lot of reps at it yet. And so the thing that she felt was this indication of her failure was exactly the opposite. And I've thought a lot about that just today because it's fresh on my mind. And sometimes after I, get after my kids like that, it kind of lingers in my brain. And I've thought about myself. I've been like, okay, Kim, well, you're really good at dishing out that kind of advice. What about you? And I asked myself 3 hard questions. And these are the questions that I'm going to ask you right now. And for those of you that don't know me, you may think this guy's kind of an a-hole, but I'm not, I promise. Those of you that do know me, you can tell them that I'm not an a-hole. Okay. But there's 3 hard questions that I ask myself. And these are, I think, good checkups as we're going into 2021. We have 2020 in the rear view, 2021's going ahead of us now. And who knows what's going to happen. We didn't exactly start off on the best note, I know, but what's going to happen this year? I don't know. And there's so many forces and things right now that will almost make you feel compelled to surrender control of your life to just whatever's happening. And I'm equally susceptible to that. So the first question I ask myself, and then I'm gonna ask you, is, are you taking charge of your life? Are you taking charge of it? With all the stuff that's happening, all the things that are going on, pandemics, vaccines, riots, political garbage, all the stuff that just forces you into this where you just want to crawl under a rock sometimes, or just like you don't know what to do because you feel like you're just boxed in at every front by things you can't control, all this stuff. Are you letting that now cause you to be reactive, or are you being proactive? And I asked myself that question. I looked at myself. Am I being reactive? As I'm looking at myself right now going into this year, am I going into this year with that mindset or not? And I bet a lot of you are, which is awesome. I mean, you're on this call. That's a really good indication of that, right? But it's a check. Are you taking charge? Are you the one that's owning your life? Are you responding? How are you responding to these headwinds and these things that you're facing? How are you responding to the challenge to set goals for this year, to push yourself for this year? Are you afraid to do that? I think this year, more than years in recent memory, is a year of incredible opportunity for us as a company. Incredible. Shane just mentioned some of the things you're experiencing in your team. We're seeing that same thing on a corporate level. Like the ongoing issue that we continue to have is we are straining our abilities to support the growth and the demand that is being put on us. Like we're trying to catch up with it and to scale with it. The opportunity is significant, and going into this year, I think it's going to be even more so with things that I can't necessarily talk about here, but not just new product launches, not just new things that are happening, but investments that you're going to be seeing the company making in strengthening the Beachbody brand in households, in strengthening our market share, those things that will make it easier for you to have those conversations than it is right now for you to be able to do. Anyway, products, opportunities, all these. 2021 can be an amazing year. The opportunities will be there. And the funny thing is, some people are going to take advantage of it. The proactive ones, the ones that are owning that, they're going to take advantage of it, because when you're thinking proactively, you find opportunity. And when you're thinking reactively, you find reasons, you find excuses, right? And you find what you're looking for, a little like I was telling my daughter the other night. And to me, it starts with this attitude of owning my life. Who's in charge right now? Am I directing my ship? Am I setting goals for myself? Am I creating plans? Am I holding myself accountable to the things that I can control to do those things? Or am I letting other people unmoor me? Am I letting myself get despondent? Am I letting myself do that? And I get it, you guys, I do. As some of you, I struggle with anxiety. I had a little confession I shared last month on the roundtable. And 2020 was a challenge for me, for someone with anxiety and things like that. Like, whew, it's tough. I get it. But at the same time, I believe that we all have it within us to do that. And this is part of the call that is a little bit of a pep talk for you if you need it. But it's also hopefully maybe a little bit of a kick in the butt, because I know I need one every now and then. And I know my daughter needed one last night. That comes from a place of love, because a lot of coaches I've been talking to lately, they are just too reactive right now. They're waiting. They're hesitant. It takes courage, especially right now, to step into yourself, to step into the opportunities that exist for you. I know it can be challenging, but I know that you can do it. So that's the first question, the hard one. All right, are you taking charge of your life? The second one is, do my thoughts and actions show or demonstrate that I believe that my choices are what drive my outcomes? So if I'm taking charge of my life, if that's the mindset that I want, the next level then is, how are my thoughts? Am I thinking that way? Am I nurturing that kind of mindset? Am I feeding that kind of mindset, or am I starving it? Is it screaming for nourishment from me because I'm not doing the things that feed my mind to make sure I'm thinking that way? Personal development, right? Taking care of the things that we read on social media, pay attention to, on all that stuff, the things that make us weaker, okay? Those type of things. Do my thoughts, okay? Internal analysis, and my actions, the things that I do, would someone look at that and say, that's someone who believes that their choices are what drives the outcomes in their life? That's someone who is looking to achieve something, to push themselves towards a direction. Okay. And these are the small things, you guys. This isn't the big things. These are the small things. It often manifests itself in the self-discipline to stick to routines, to show up for yourself, and to just do the things that you can control. It's not magic. There's not a silver bullet. Okay. There's nothing, I've been around this industry my whole life on the corporate side for almost 20 years now. And I'll get people that will ask me, Kim, is there no, there's not a secret to it. The closest thing I've ever found is one that I know a lot of you have heard me say before, but it's purposeful, consistent action. That's what it is. Purposeful, consistent action. I'll talk about why that matters in just a second here. But do my thoughts and actions show that I believe? Because if I see some gaps there, if I say, okay, am I taking charge of my life? I'm not sure. Maybe I think I am. All right, do my thoughts and my actions demonstrate that? That might reveal to you some gaps, some areas for improvement that you can do. The third one that I ask myself is, am I willing to be courageous enough to challenge myself, especially this year? Am I courageous enough to challenge myself to achieve and grow in a meaningful way? Okay. Or am I afraid to commit to something with all the uncertainty, all the things is it causing me to play small? Is it driving me to think too conservative as far as what my potential is to be? Okay. And as I'm thinking about goals then specifically, or things that I want to do this year, the things that if I'm going to steer my ship, own my life, if I'm going to really cultivate and nourish my mind the way that I want it to be nourished, if I'm going to make sure my actions are demonstrated that I'm controlling the things that I can control, can I be courageous enough then to push myself? Can I be courageous enough to set big goals for myself? Because I hear people telling me that there's great opportunity this year. Do I believe that? Do I believe in that enough that I'm willing to set big goals for myself to do that? Now, I know a lot of you probably already are doing this, and I'm preaching to the choir in a lot of ways, but this was helpful to me to kind of go through this self checklist, if you will, to look at the things that I'm doing. Because if I'm not careful, sometimes I don't own my life. Sometimes I'm not acting in a way that shows that I believe my choices are what ultimately determine the outcomes, that I'm not just abdicating control of my life to the whims of things that happen around me. Okay. And if I'm not careful enough, I play small. I play way too small. I sell myself way too short. And for me, it requires courage to step into that. Just being honest with you. Like, it requires a certain level of courage to say, I believe in myself enough that I'm going to set a big goal and I'm going to go for it. And I'm going to push myself. And a lot like with my daughter, it's going to invite challenge. Pushing myself is going to invite challenge, but that's okay, because I know that's where the growth is. I know that's where the growth is. All right. So the rah-rah, let's get now into how I approach this and how I try to help other people approach it as well, getting past the theory. Okay. For me, it's what I found to be most useful for myself and people I've had the opportunity to work with over the years is a very, very straightforward, easy to remember formula. It's not going to break you. It's not going to blow your mind. Okay. But these three elements are critical to achievement. Okay. With that mindset, with that attitude I just talked about. The first one is a purpose. And I know we hear about it, and sometimes I'm afraid we talk about too much as coaches that it becomes trite, right? But a purpose behind what we're doing. And I'll pepper in some experiences here that will make this a lot less boring to listen to, I hope. So talking about purpose, I had a reminder about this the other day in something that's meaningful to me right now. So for Christmas, we received, my brother gave, we do like an exchange where families kind of draw each other and then they give each other gifts. And anyway, my younger brother gave my wife and I like a gift card to a local restaurant. And I remember my wife opened it up, and the first words out of her mouth, she looked right at me and she goes, "Does this mean you'll start dating me again this year?" Ouch. And she said it jokingly, but with enough seriousness in it that I could tell she meant it. And so later on, I kind of asked her, I said, well, tell me what you mean by that. And she said, well, they're over the course of the year, just because of the way things are. She goes, we haven't really gone on a date in, well, I can't remember the last time. And that stuck with me. That bothered me because I don't want my wife to ever think that I'm going to stop dating her, that I'm going to stop treating her that way. And it made me start to think to myself, okay, look, I got to make sure she knows that I don't just take her for granted. And I got to make sure I don't just take her for granted. Right. I got to make sure that the important things stay the important things. And it was a real good reminder to me of how quickly, if we're not careful, we can grow distant from our purpose. Like my wife knows that I love her. I think she says she does. Okay. I love her. She's important to me. She's the probably the most important person in my life. Not probably, she is. She's not here, so she didn't hear me say probably. You guys don't tell her I said probably. Okay. She's the most important person in my life, right? She knows all those things. But were my actions demonstrating that I was connected to that purpose, to that why for me? No, they weren't. What we're demonstrating is maybe I was just taking it for granted, or maybe it wasn't worthwhile to me to kind of get in touch with that again and to make sure I was taking care of that. And a lot of times with coaches, a lot of times, as in all of us, with a business, especially in life, but whatever, like we can kind of let that purpose grow stale. And when you struggle to set goals, the first thing that when you struggle to set goals or push yourself or to have the courage and all this stuff I'm talking about, the first place that I go to, that I would recommend you go to, is your why, your purpose. Chances are it's grown a little bit weak or stale. Okay. And so I want you to think about that when it comes to your business, and start with just a simple question. What does Beachbody do for you? What does your business do to contribute to your life? What are the things that matter to you that you're grateful for to have it? Start there. Think about those pieces. Think about the things then, what you're building for. What are you trying to create for yourself and for your family? What are the people you're trying to help, the meaning that you get out of being a difference maker? All those things. But my invitation to you is to make sure that that's locked in, okay? To make sure that that's strong, and then to make that visible somewhere. Write it on your mirror, do a vision board, put a bracelet on your wrist. I don't care. Whatever you've got to do. Send yourself an alert on your phone that every day at 2:00 it pops up so you can see it again. But keep it vibrant. Keep it alive. Don't just take it for granted. We don't just take this for granted. I mean, I've got people that are in friends that are other direct selling companies, corporate wise, and they would kill. I mean, the opportunity and the things that we're doing here, it's so incredible. Is it perfect? Heck no. No way. It's not perfect. Okay. And we got to deal with trying to make it perfect and fix the flaws every single day. And we do. And some days they stack up really quick, and I get it. I get all, but man, we have so much good, so much better, so much good here than the things that are holding us back. So let's look for that. Let's not take that for granted. So your purpose. The second thing. So purpose then with goals. So when we have a purpose, then goals become a little bit easier, because purpose kind of gives us that direction, that thing we're going towards. And now we can look and say, well, there's a gap between where I'm at now and where I want to be. So I've got to set some goals now. What are some things that I can do? And can I be courageous enough to push myself to see what I can achieve this year? Do you have meaningful goals for yourself? If you don't, start with your purpose. If you have a purpose locked in, then I want you to look at those goals. If you haven't set goals yet, set them, and have the courage to set goals that will challenge you a little bit. Okay. There's over the summer, we're in the process of moving, right? And the place where we're moving to, there was some lot things that need to be done on the lot. And so over the summer, I was doing that, right? And I had a wheelbarrow there to move dirt around and do some things. And I'd kind of finished using the wheelbarrow for what I needed. And I set it over, but kind of by the fence. And the following day, it rained for like 2 days in a row, right? And that wheelbarrow caught the rain. And I remember I went out there the following day, and I was looking around. I was like, oh shoot, I left the wheelbarrow out here. I went over to look at it, and it was like a third full of rainwater. Like this much water was in it, and the water was beautiful, clean, pristine water. Like you could probably drink from it without a problem, right? Beautiful, clean water. Well, I didn't end up moving that wheelbarrow. I just left it there. And about 3-4 weeks later, I was like, oh, I really should get that wheelbarrow out of here. It's just sitting out there. I should put that away. And I went over, and that water was still in that wheelbarrow. But now that water was not clean, and it was not pristine, and it was not drinkable. It was gross. It was stagnant. It was cloudy. It was disgusting. Okay. And it stunk. And the reason why I give you that analogy is because as I was thinking about goals, right? I was thinking about too often, if we're not careful, like the goals we try to set for ourselves can be kind of like that water, right? We set new goals for ourselves, kind of like why you fresh water, right? Why whenever you have a lake or something that doesn't have new water getting flown into it, eventually it just grows stagnant and gross, right? Those new goals keep you healthy. That keeps your focus healthy. It keeps your drive alive. It keeps that water from going from clear to getting murky and cloudy, and where you feel like you don't really have a direction and you're not sure what the next step should be. You're feeling overwhelmed because you're not sure what point A should be for yourself. Goals create for you that point A. You don't have to overthink them. You have your purpose. You know the things you want to do. Set something, align something you want to achieve for, own that. Control that, go after that. And then as you start to get there, or for some reason things change, then you get something else. That's like putting fresh water back in that wheelbarrow, right? Don't let your goals grow stagnant. Don't let yourself grow stagnant by not having goals that refresh you and keep you focused and driven and motivated. I hope maybe that analogy will stick in your brain. At least I hope it will. Okay. The last thing. So purpose, goals, and then finally now it's action, right? This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where everything comes about, right? Having purpose and goals are great, but now doing something about it. And again, this isn't complicated. This isn't raw. You guys know all of these things here, but my challenge to you is to ask you, are we applying those things? Are you doing these things, right? And so, one of the things that I'll talk a lot about coaches about, is oftentimes they have goals that are around earnings. They want to make a good income for themselves, a predictable income for themselves and for their family. And we can get I think it's really important that coaches understand our compensation program. That's the reason why we've got training for it in the coach office. I'm sure you guys have learned all about the compensation program. But knowing the compensation program doesn't pay you the compensation program. Okay. The compensation program is based on your ability to help people. Okay. And I want you to think, one of the things that I think would be maybe a good check at this point is when it comes to, let's think about income creation from the standpoint of a business owner compensation versus employee compensation. Okay. We'll talk money here for a minute. That kind of wakes people up sometimes. So when I say employee compensation, that's how a lot of us kind of have been taught to think, right? And ultimately, at the end of the day, whether you're salary or whether you're hourly or whatever, you're trading time for money, right? And if you're good at something or experienced on something, you get more money for your time. But at the end of the day, it's time for money that you're trading. And sometimes when we can approach our business with the same mindset, I can think, well, I'm putting a lot of time in here compared to the income that I'm getting, and it's just not compounding quick enough. And then I can get frustrated. I can either quit, I can get discouraged, I can walk away, I can try shortcuts, and I can do all kinds of stuff over here that can sabotage me. And it's not because the compensation program isn't effective. It's because we're looking at it the wrong way. And that's driving our motivations and driving our actions to do something that's counterproductive to how business owners earn income. So employee compensation is time-based. Business owner compensation, which is what our model is based on, and write this down if you need to, okay? It's based on value creation and the number of people who participate in that value. So if you want to increase your income, I would challenge you to not think about it in terms of rank advancements, not think about it in terms of of I don't even those kind of things like that, right? Sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. I would challenge you to think about it in value creation and the number of people that are participating in that value. Am I constantly creating value for people? Am I constantly creating value? And then am I constantly looking to expose more people or invite more people to participate in that value? It can start with the things you're sharing on social media, the things you're sharing with people that aren't currently paying you a commission, that you're just contributing and building value with them. And right now, yeah, you're not really getting any rewards from that necessarily, but you're building value, building value, building value. And at some point that flips, okay? At some point that flips, and that person then you start to earn compensation from people who are participating in that value. I hope that makes sense. If not, we can talk a little more detail on that. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that when we talk about the fundamentals, when we think about goals for the business, income-based goals, things that you want to achieve this year, those things can feel like they're kind of hard to control. But what you can control is how many people you talk to every single day, how good you run your challenge groups, how you're promoting people getting results, the number of people that you expand that you're adding into your network on a frequent basis, the conversations that you're talking about with people, the value that you're creating for your network, the investments that you're making in this growing group of community of people that are connected to you. You can control those things. And the funny thing is, when you get really good at that, then all of a sudden the inviting and the actions you're taking gain traction more quickly. And at some point, I promise you, the greatest thing about business owner compensation is this: employee compensation always has a ceiling, and that's time. Employee compensation always has a lid, and it's time-based, right? Business owner compensation doesn't have that limit. And so as you build value and as you teach other people to do this, at some point now you're going for, I'm creating a lot of time for my values right here. Pretty soon it flips significantly. And you're now putting in probably the same amount of time, but the value the return you're getting, the income that you're earning is much greater than would possibly be outside in a traditional employee-based model for most people, okay? Now, that's a great prize. That's something that is worth it, but most people never get to that point because they quit on themselves too early. They get impatient, all those things I mentioned in the beginning. There is no better opportunity, honestly, in this space than we have right now. You think about it, our solutions and things aren't based on fads. They're not, you can bank them. You can see, you can know that, look at it this year, right? Middle of a pandemic, things happen, like the demand is there. The commitment of the company to remain at the forefront of that is there. Okay. Do we always do it as fast as everyone wants? No. Sometimes we do it faster than people want, sometimes not as fast, but the commitment to be there and to maintain that edge, to maintain that role is there. Okay. And so the business model works. The demand is there. The market opportunity is there, especially going into this year. All these things are lining up for you. Okay. And so we unlock that now with the actions that we take. Using the Success Club System activity tracker, holding yourself accountable to just those handful of activities every single day, showing up, holding yourself accountable to doing those things. One thing I'm actually excited about talking about on Saturday, Super Weekend, is and I probably shouldn't tell you guys this because no one else knows outside the cab, but I guess you guys will know now. I tend to do this when I do Shane's calls. I don't know why, but we're actually launching a digital version of the Success Club System tracker. The beta version will launch in January and the full version will launch in April. But that will make it easier than ever to be able to track these things and keep yourself accountable to these key actions that are coming. And so, and all of these things that I've mentioned to you, if you'll think about them and if you'll have an honest conversation with yourself, you'll see how they're all connected. It becomes at some point just kind of a way of being, a way of approaching life. And a lot of the things that you are teaching your challengers or teaching your other coaches bases itself in this idea of, do we have the self-discipline to own and to live our life purposefully? Do we have that? And let's hold each other accountable to doing that. Come whatever headwinds may, whatever challenges might be as we set big goals for ourselves, let's push through those this year. Let's make those happen. Let's not be afraid to do those things. Let's go after them and let's see what happens. Let's take advantage of all that's there to be taken advantage of. It's really, really exciting. And make sure you tune into Saturday's Super Weekend event. There's some cool stuff that I think you're going to want to hear. So anyway, Shane, that's me rambling nonstop for like 30 minutes.
Not rambling. Thank you. I mean,
Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions or anything else.
yeah, I mean, I have the luxury of seeing Kim a lot in the round table and stuff, so I want to hush up and let you guys unmute. But Kim, just one thing, I'm hearing all this, and like I see who's on this call, and I can like visualize their stories, and I see them showing up in their accountability groups. And so as far as discipline with your workouts, like that's who you're talking to, but what can you say to the fear factor or the limiting belief that they're doing awesome stories, they're showing up, they're in their accountability group, and they're not building what you're saying is when they flip it? Like, do you have any words of wisdom for that?
Yeah. So one of the, yeah, no, you're great. One of the things, and I have it right here actually. So one of the notes that I always have for myself, and this is part of Kim's rules. I had someone ask me to actually share these sometime. I don't know if I will, they're kind of personal, but I might. But one of Kim's rules that I've listened to a lot yet is it says, don't take counsel from fear. And it's hard to not do that sometimes because we can be pretty hard on ourselves, and we tend to see things, if we're not careful, we tend to fill the unknown with worst case scenarios or things like that. So I would say don't take counsel from your fears. The important thing for coaches that are in that situation is, I'm never going to say, just keep banging your head against a wall. That's not what I'm going to say. But what I am going to say is the formula that I know works is to focus on creating or building value, contributing value, and the number of people you're building it for. You can control those things. So you keep showing up on your stories. Hey, doesn't mean you can't try some new things, look for some stuff. Doesn't mean you can kind of tweak some things to do some stuff like that, but focus on the idea of creating value. Okay. Make your social media not a judgment on your who you are or who you're accepted by or anything like that. Like, stop taking your self-esteem in your social media and just keep showing up and contributing value, and focus. Then the biggest thing that I've seen, Shane, for coaches who struggle to get traction, the number one thing that I see, honestly, is they're just not adding enough people to their network. They don't proactively, purposefully go out and try to find, like, search hashtags on Instagram for common likes that they have or interests that other people have, and try to literally proactively get out there and build those connections. And I know that's hard because sometimes you hear training and it sounds like other people just have people coming to them in droves, and you're like, well, what am I doing? I can promise you at some point, those people were in your boat. And I can also promise you at some point, if you'll do this and keep the tribe, at some point, the efforts to build your tribe, at first it's all on you. At first it just feels like it's all on you. You're just like, come on, go find them, bring them in, let's connect, let's talk. But at some point, and again, I know this, I've seen this happen over and over again. At some point that flips, and it does get to the point where people are just kind of coming. And because other people are sharing and other people are sharing, and the community and the tribe is big enough that it just kind of starts to, and then you can maybe pull back a little bit on some of the proactiveness of going out and growing that network. But until then, that's one of the most important things that you can be doing. Remember, create value. The business owner, the biggest business compensation is based on two things: value creation and the number of people who participate in that value. You focus on those two things, and I think you'll be surprised what happens. Just keep going. Okay.
I remember it was probably about 3 years ago, I was on a one-on-one call with you, and I was like, I just don't understand. Like, I haven't been growing lately, and I remember you said this to me. You said, Shane, it's not your message.
Yeah.
Your message is right. It's who you're sharing it with.
Yeah.
So that hasn't changed in all these years. It's just, I was talking to the wrong people and not enough people, and wasn't focusing a bucket every day on growing the people that were watching me. Yeah. So I had this great message, and it was like, but it was going to nobody. So it's exhausting to feel that way, right, guys? Like, oh my God, I did 15 stories today and 56 people saw them, and 19 of them, are robots, and the other were coaches. Well, did I work today? And it's like, how long can I keep doing this? Yeah. But if you take one of those buckets and you spend 20 minutes and really focus on getting new people to see that every day, it's the compound effect. And I learned that years ago. So it
and it really is the truth. And keep it simple. Build connections. Go see someone you think you connect with, like a couple of their posts, comment on it, see if they'll connect back with you. I mean, it's a process. And just because you're going through the process doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. You're just going through the process. So just go through it. And if you'll think about that truth, then all of a sudden that there's a meaning to it, right? Sometimes sacrifice can feel pointless if there's no purpose behind it. Well, that I'm building value and I'm trying to expose more people to participate and be a part of that value. So, all right, Shane, I'm gonna stop talking unless someone asks me a question because I'm talking a lot.
Anybody thoughts? Or we'll end 10. It's 10 of 10 here in the East. Anything, guys? Thank you, Kim, so much. I think
Always happy. I hope it was helpful.
It was. This month, our focus is just trying to get some clarity and direction. And I think this was a perfect start to it. So
good.
I think you guys all agree. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much for spending the evening with us.
My pleasure. Thank you. It's so good to see all of you.
You too.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye, team. See you soon.